over Area 51. New information just in. Blake Cousins, welcome back, everybody, from around the world. We are broadcasting live, and I wanted to share with you this new update on Google Maps. Now, Google Maps, if you search Groom Lake, Nevada, you could be taken to Area 51, and if you try and explore it on the ground, now this icon pulls up, and it's all of a sudden this UFO icon pops up on Google Maps. Do they know something we don't? Just go ahead. Go to Google Maps. Check out Groom Lake, Nevada. And you will see, if you try and do that ground tour over there like you used to be able to, now this UFO icon pops up, this flying saucer. Are they trying to tell us something? Now that Area 51 is declassified by President Obama about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Now, I guess Google Maps is getting up on the bandwagon, trying to do a tongue-in-cheek, or are they trying to give a little bit of soft disclosure? Now, this is kind of weird, in my opinion. If you go ahead and try and place this yellow guy in another part of California, everything is operational again. It's not a problem. But if you're over the restricted classified Area 51 base and trying to do this, now this flying saucer thing's popping up. So it's kind of strange. If you ask me, everybody take a look at that. I'm taking calls from around the world in regards to the UFO phenomenon tonight. So if you've got something you want to share, just go ahead and press number 1 on that touch tone device you're using. Just number 1 on your cell phone, your landline, whatever you're using. Just press number 1 and you'll be taken straight to the top of the call list. We want to hear a good UFO story tonight, people. That's what it's all about. People's experience being shared to the world right here at Third Phase of the Moon. That's why we do this. We want to get our own disclosure. That's the whole point of Third Phase of the Moon. And I think we've got a little bit over the 8 years, but we need more. We need more. We need that extraterrestrial technology in our hands so we could prove to everybody that we're not alone. Everybody asks, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Well, this is close encounters of the second kind. We need that evidence. And then I'm sure the close encounters of the third kind, contact, has happened already. It's happened millions of times around the world, if not more, over the human history of our race. What is their agenda? Well, let's maybe we'll find out a little bit tonight. Let's go to some callers right now. Let's open up the lines. Area code 347 has a little static coming in. Let's see if they could fix that up. But in the meanwhile, we'll get to area code 719. You're on Third Phase of the Moon Live Radio. Welcome to the show. Where are you calling in from? What's your name? Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm calling in from the east side of the Big Island. I can hear the Koki frog sometimes in the back of your thing, so in your broadcast, I know that you're pretty close. But I was sitting in my truck one night over in Bajoa. It was about 5 o'clock. And
Okay.
5 o'clock in the morning. And all of a sudden, like somebody turned on a light switch, there's this massive green light and an electrical humming sound. And just as I went to stick my head out of my truck to see what was up there, gone. Turned the light switch off. It just wasn't there anymore. And it was just right over my truck. I was doing security work, so I had to stay up all night. Another thing, too, on the 20th, you posted a video about a guy who said that his dad was SF, and there was a lady that called in and questioned. We get any of those questions answered? Hello?
Yes, yeah. I didn't get those questions answered. Unfortunately, I was trying to.
Well, I tell you, the gal that called in, I'm also a 12-year, I was a tank commander, tank platoon sergeant in the Army for 12 years. When I got out, I went to work for the State Department, got to do fun stuff with them. So I am a combat vet, and I'm letting you know, when tanks and infantry go hand in hand, so you'll have 4 companies of tanks, and then you'll have 4 companies of grunts, or infantry. So what we do is when we deploy, kick out a platoon to the grunts, and they give us a platoon back to the tankers. Now, there is no armor up at the 82nd Airborne. But at the time that he was talking about, it was called an M48, and it was the only airdroppable tank. It was the only airdroppable tank that we had. So the Airborne actually did have tanks. So there's actually credibility to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's definitely strange indeed. Let me get back to this earlier sighting right here on the Big Island. Now, that's intriguing to me because there are so many sightings here in the state of Hawaii. We're just doing a special in Maui recently, and we've got some updates coming up. But now in Pahoa, let me ask you, if you go around that neighborhood, I'm sure you bring up the UFO topic, a lot of people are going to share their story with you. There's a lot of people on that side of the island that's seen UFOs or strange lights in the skies. How low was this craft to your truck while you're on duty?
It felt like it was 20 foot. It felt like it was 20 foot above my truck, and it was just this massive green light, and it was like an electrical hum. And then just as I went to stick my head out of my open window, it just turned off like a light switch.
No, that's just straight out of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's actually going to be back in theaters again, apparently, and I think it's about time. I think it's been 30 years since that movie. Oh, excuse me, it's been 40 years since that movie's been out. It's quite amazing, but they bring up evidence, and that's Close Encounters of the Second Kind. Did you see any kind of remnants on your face or body? Any kind of like
No
weird
remnants,
happening?
nothing too crazy, and it's not like I had a loss of time or anything. It was just, it was right above my truck. I wasn't abducted or anything like that, but it's really strange stuff going on over in Pahoa.
So did it was when this green beam was like, or this green energy up there, was it creating like a beam of light where was this at night? It was creating shadows as it's moving across the night sky?
No, it just it turned on like a light switch, and it completely consumed my truck. It was just around my truck. I have an F-150, and it was just right around my truck. And then when I went to look and see what it was, it like a light switch, it turned off. And no, I was not drinking.
Just like that. No, yeah, sure. It's almost like they're interdimensional.
Well, yeah, and you know what? You're right. And I have seen, the little burning, bubbly light things over there. I've seen that a lot. Well, a lot. I've seen it twice. But the closest thing that ever got to me, it felt like it's 20 foot above my vehicle on the trip.
Well, appreciate you sharing this story with us from the Big Island of Hawaii. That's incredible. Let me tell you, this place is a hot spot. No doubt about it. Appreciate it. Keep in touch and have that camera ready, sir. Next time they come around, I want to see this stuff. Okay, let's go to area code 347. It sounds like that you're by the ocean or something. Are you flying? You're on air. How you doing?
Yes, Cousin Blake.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yeah, you're speaking with him.
Okay.
How you doing?
How you
What's on
doing,
your mind tonight? Doing good.
Well,
Doing
I
good.
just want to report experience that I had was June 27th, 11:47 p.m. and that was a Tuesday night. I'm in my bedroom, and when I opened my eyes up, I seen 4 ETs in my bedroom. So I was I have several friends.
4 ETs, did you say?
I seen 4 ETs in my bedroom. So I knew they was coming because they always let me know ahead of time. They always let me know ahead of time they're about to show up. So last couple of times wasn't so good. I couldn't bear it, but this time I was pretty calm. As I'm laying down, of course you have the paralysis. You can't do anything. You can't move anything like that. So they appeared to be very tall, but it was very strange. They was in all gray suits, like a gray space suit. And it was like one that was in the back. I don't know if he had a suit on or not. He had the funny head shape, but this one waved at me. and I actually waved back, and it was just like I said, okay, now, like, what did I do? So I just, I said, I come in peace be unto you, something in that nature, and they responded back to me, for using telepathy, the same thing that I said in my mind, So I was like, okay, and actually they just like turn around and they just like dematerialize. Now the prior one I had to that one was I was in my bed and I turned around and there was a short one by the side of my bed and I freaked out, because I knew it was coming, but I didn't. I was saying I was going to be ready, but I wasn't ready. So it feels like they're taking their time for me to get ready for the experience. Because prior to that time, I had an encounter where everything in my house just got very, very quiet. It was like a supernatural feeling, where you just feeling something, and you said, "Wow," and I was like, "Wow, what is going on here?" So I'm saying, man, either UFO is around, I just felt that coming. So I was very, very out. I was very, very. It had a lot of anxiety, but it was a whisper that came in my ear, telepathically. It said, "It's okay. No one is here to hurt you." But it was such a soothing. It was such in a soothing way, when I was confident that I would be okay. And as I opened my eyes, I actually see my body was like coming back, like I had an out-of-body experience. My body was coming back in. So that was happening. It takes a lot to talk about this,
Sure,
but
sure.
this is happening.
Let me ask you this.
To a lot of people.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this,
Yeah.
sir. You say they give you a forewarning before they
you
have
this like
visitation. How do they communicate? How do they communicate with you?
It's, how can I put it? It's like this, like I'll get the feeling like they let me know, like telepathy in the way that we're going to be visiting you soon. It seems like they're giving you the heads up, like to prepare yourself. And one time,
well, you know what?
I was
Though, if you're going to get the heads up, do you have a cell phone or a video camera, man? You got to put some surveillance video because we've yet to see the ultimate abduction or visitation video.
Now, let me tell you something about the other one I had when I got the supernatural experience. Actually, it's very weird because when I woke up and I had my phone in my hand at that time, but like I said, I couldn't do anything after thinking what I was in. But when I got my phone back, there was pictures on my phone of these classic graves that we see in the book, like the textile graves that we see, on pictures in the book. So I'm saying to myself, how did this picture get here? Because I didn't believe in the graves. I always thought they was like a big hoax, not real. So that is still questionable. I just don't recall, but then and I have went through, heard other cases where people found pictures on their phone. Also, they didn't put there. And a friend of mine, he's a contactee. Also, he's a contactee. He's on a ship and everything else. But he's telling me that they do that to give me a chance to get, adjusted to seeing them, So, but it was very, very Very, very strange. And one time before I see a ship, I don't think, this must have been in 92, 91, 92 area. No more than 93. I don't think cell phones was out with the picture camera. They wasn't out there. But I went to look at my bedroom door because I've always been a UFO fan coming up as a child. I always thought about the UFO with the Bermuda Triangle that got my interest. When I looked at my bedroom before I was going to bed, and I seen the UFO about 6, how many feet in the air? Maybe like maybe as a 9-story building. 6-story.
Hello? Hello? Oh. I guess he just dropped out. That's all right. Okay. Tell you what, we're going to take a break, and if the caller wants to call back, you can try. And if you've got something you want to share, go ahead, press number 1 on your touch tone device, and we'll get to you. That was kind of strange. Go ahead, press number 1 on the keypad, and we'll be right back. Third Phase Moon, taking your stories from around the world. Stay tuned, everybody. Or did they? Third Phase Moon, Blake Cousins. Welcome back, everybody. Broadcasting live from the Big Island of Hawaii. Let's go ahead, take the callers. Let's bring them in. All you have to do is press number 1 on that touch pad of yours, and you'll get taken straight to the top of the call list. Let's go to area code 732. Thanks for joining us. You are live on Third Phase of Moon. I hope you got a good story for us. Where are you calling in from?
Jersey.
Oh,
can you hear me
right
okay?
on. Hey, I got you loud and clear. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, cool. I'm just making sure. Anyway,
Sure.
This all started about a year ago. This is the first I've ever actually spoken about this. So I wrote a lot of the information down so I can kind of go over the story in order so I don't go back and forth and kind of make it confusing. So some parts of it may sound a little... Huh?
Thank you. Thanks for calling in. We love new callers, new stories.
Okay, great. Yeah, some parts of it may sound a little silly, but you just tell me, and I'll just keep going with it. So basically, this all started out where I used to play this game, right? It was just an online tank game, right? And me growing up, I never really had much experiences as far as like, UFOs or flying saucers. Like, I was never like in disbelief. I just kind of like, you just kind of go on with your life, whatever. So anyway, I'm playing this game, and then my computer blows up. So my wife tells me, I don't want you playing the game anymore because she thinks the game had something to do with the computer blowing up. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I go on Netflix, and I'm watching that Unsealed Alien Files, right? And I've always had like a very big, very extreme interest in this, right? So when I watched the Unsealed Alien Files, I've always thought that stuff was very interesting, very cool. So I went online, I started doing some research, and I started, watching all these stories, and one of the, a lot of the stories are very common stories. They involve like, like the Billy Meyer story, the Charles Hall story, Phil Schneider, Stephen Greer, all familiar stories I'm sure you've all heard. So I'm learning all this stuff about consciousness and all these different types of races. I know there's a lot of positive and a lot of false information out there. So I saw your story the other day about when you were out there in Malibu and how you saw your sighting and how it dropped an object into the water, right? And I thought that was really interesting. And anyway,
sure.
I'll just get to
go ahead.
Tell you about my sighting.
Yeah, absolutely. But I had my sighting on the Oahu of the North Shore, of Oahu. But yeah, okay. But yeah, I want to hear your story, please.
Okay. So I mean, like I said, nothing like real crazy. But I'll just keep going, and then you tell me. But so I went outside one day, and I was sitting there trying to focus. I'm not a person that generally meditates or tries to do stuff with chakras or consciousness and all that other stuff, So I was kind of like just kind of focusing, doing what something online kind of told me to do, and I wanted to reach out to that race that refers to themselves as the Pleiadians. Right. This was actually a very clear day. Right. And anyway. So I said, Pleiadian, are there any Pleiadians out there? I said a very generic thing, and I actually did not think anything would happen. I know this may actually sound kind of stupid, but that's more or less basically how I said it. Where I live in New Jersey, pretty much there's a lot of air traffic here. I'm next to JFK, Newark, LaGuardia Airport. There's planes that fly over my house like every few minutes. Anyway, there was a commercial airliner flying over my house. About within seconds after I said that, there was a round orb it started out small, then it was getting bigger and bigger, and it was almost like it was egg-shaped, would be the best way I could describe it, and it had, looked like it was kind of like black or dark in the middle, and it was directly above the commercial airliner. Like, it wasn't like in view of, or where anybody could see it on the windows, almost as if it was on top of it, like it was at the same exact altitude and speed flying with the commercial airliner as I'm looking at the commercial airliner, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I don't believe this just happened. Like, this is like unbelievable, And then after about a minute or so of me sitting there watching this, it veered off to the left and shot straight up in the sky, and then it basically more or less disappeared out of sight. And that was the only sighting I've actually had since as far as like last year, but I've noticed some other things that I've been doing as well that I wanted to try and go over with you.
Absolutely. Like what? What do you mean?
Well, I would go out like on nights that are like very clear nights, because now it got my attention. I'm extremely interested. You know what I mean? So I would just kind of go out, and I don't know if what I'm doing is correct or if I'm doing anything that's right or not. I really have no idea, but I figure, hey, you know what? I'm not killing anybody, so whatever. So I go in my backyard at night, beautiful, clear stars at night, and I'd kind of like try and talk to them. Like, I kind of would do the same thing, but just kind of talk in my mind and wonder if they would hear me. Like, I'm not really sure. I, honest to God, have no idea. Anyway, I would see things like, the satellites and stuff that are going across the atmosphere, and then I would see other movements, right? And I'm doing a lot of research. Some people say it could be like an optical illusion, like you think you want to see something moving that may be moving that's not actually not moving. But here's the interesting part, is when I was watching some of those videos with Stephen Greer, I saw some of the same exact things that he saw. I saw ones where they would basically stay still, and they would dart to one direction and then stop. And this was all during like the first month or so of me trying to do this last year, right? And I would also see some of them, like he said, would be like satellites. We'd see like the little dot would kind of just fly over your head, and like that would be it. And then I would see other ones that would kind of fly over your head, and then they would change direction. So I was always under the impression like, well, that could be a satellite too, because maybe they're, firing the burners and just changing the trajectory. But I saw two of them that were almost like, that's the way I could describe it, like it was flying in formation, and they were flying next to each other, and they would move in curves, like they would fly straight next to each other in perfect formation, equal distance from each other, and then they would make like, not like a zigzag turn, but like a slight curved turn, so you could physically see that they're moving in a way that's kind of like a little bit like unnatural, And I says, well, that's something that's also I don't think a satellite would do. So those are some of the really interesting things that I did say. But also, I don't want to forget to mention this because I feel like I'm getting a little bit ahead now. During that first week, when I'm sitting there and trying to actually do this, something very strange actually happened to me. I'm sitting there in my backyard, and I really have no idea what this means, but this actually did happen. There was like if you ever look in front of you and you see like a heat wave off in the distance, like they'll show it on TV, you see like this little desert heat wave, right? I actually saw that like directly in front of me, and I thought it was like very strange, and it almost surrounded my entire body for a few minutes, and then it dissipated. So I really don't know what that means, but at one point when I was out there in my backyard, I had that kind of experience, as strange as that may sound. And
it almost sounds like a distortion of space and time a little bit, possibly.
Yeah,
I
know it sounds really silly, but that's an honest experience, and I don't know what it means. But and at one night when I went to sleep too, because I hear these things online about you could talk like this is the best way to put it. Anyway, I heard my name called when I was sleeping at night, and it was called in a way that I'd never heard it called before, and it was almost like I don't know if it's like telepathy or
telepathy. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, almost.
Sounds
but you know
like
what? That's all I heard. That was my name was called once, and honestly, it could have been my imagination. I'm not really sure because, in all honesty, when I do this and go in my backyard and I try to focus and meditate and I try to talk to them, they do not talk back to me. I would love for them to have a conversation with me, but they don't. But some of the things I do say, I try to do research online. Is I try to tell them, I would like to be your friend. I'd like to get to know more about you. I'd like to do more about enlightenment and just nice peaceful things. And I never get a response, but this is what I do. But let me go back to.
Yeah, I really don't.
Okay.
I really don't think there's a correct or nobody's an expert at trying to. It's just it happens. All you have to do really is you want it, you ask for it, I guess, and then it'll happen, or it just happens throughout. It just happens when it happens. There's no perfect science for this, but yeah. What else do you got?
Okay. So here's some interesting things. This could be pure coincidence, right? I don't know what this means, but I have like ideas to what this means. So one of the things I was in my backyard saying, and I said, hey, some people say you walk among us. So I said, if you're here, you walk among us. I gave him my address. I said, come to my house, knock on my door, right? And then, just basically say, hey, guess what? I am, whatever it is that you want to say you are, and then I'll be like your buddy, your ally, whatever else it is, as crazy as that sounds, but I'm open-minded. So I'm sitting there, I'm having my day off. This is the following day, and all of a sudden I hear a knock on my door, right? And I'm actually caught off guard. I wasn't thinking about what I was doing or what I was actually saying last night. I actually thought about this after the fact, but I thought this was very interesting. So I answer the door, and I see a black guy, a guy I'd never seen before. And the guy says, "Hey, you know what? I'm from the neighborhood. I don't have a lot of money. I notice your bushes need to be hedged, right? And I could do it for you. I won't charge you for a lot. I was wondering if you don't mind, if I could take care of it for you." I said, "Nah, I appreciate it. Not good timing. I'm good, thanks." Right? So he says, "Okay, no problem." And the guy started leaving my property. And as I noticed he was leaving, he had on maybe a beat-up coat. He was wearing dress pants and dress shoes. I thought that was kind of weird. He says, "You want to hedge my bushes, but I see you wearing dress pants." So I really don't know what that means either, if that had anything to do. I just thought it was strange that I asked somebody to come over to my house, and the stranger comes the following day asking to trim my bushes. I don't know if there's anything with that or not. But and another interesting series of events. You see, I don't know, I know Stephen Greer talks about a lot of stuff in regards to all this technology that the government has and all these black projects. And I was watching something on the Charles Hall story. A lot of these stories contradict each other, but you never know. So he was talking about the Greys and the tall whites and how they would have this technology where they can kind of read what you're thinking or whatever else it is, that they're not telepathic, but they would have some type of tool where they would know what you're thinking or what you're trying to say to them, right? So I said to myself too, I says, wow, that'd be pretty amazing if they worked with the government. And can you imagine if they had this kind of tool in a satellite, and they can kind of just, take the little thing that's handheld and just kind of make it just something that's the size of the Hubble telescope, and they imagine what they could do to people. But anyway, I don't know if that's really what's going on. That's just kind of thoughts that's going on in my head. But another similar instance, I left one morning and I was sitting there on my way to go to work, right? And I looked behind me, and I didn't really notice too much of it at first. I had a white Geo tracker in the back of my rearview mirror. But I don't exactly go in one direction. I drop my son off in one neighborhood over his mom's, and then I go to another neighborhood to drop my daughter off. Then I go around the 7-Eleven and get a cup of coffee before I go to work, and then I was on my way to work. But when I stopped in at the 7-Eleven to go to work, I look in my rearview mirror, and I still see the white Geo tracker, right? And I'm like, dude, this is really weird. Is this guy following me? So I go inside, and it's another black guy, different guy, though, and he's wearing a suit, and he's looking at me. He walks right in. The guy's looking at me, right? And the guy goes, "Hey, man, what's up, man?" He's real happy, and the guy's smiling at me, And I have no idea who this guy is, so I'm just kind of doing my thing, and I'm making my cup of coffee. And the guy just keeps looking at me saying, my man, like I threw a three-pointer in basketball or something. You know what I mean? With this huge smile on his face. And then he buys my coffee, which I thought was really weird. And I'd never met this guy. I don't know who this guy is before. And then I'd never seen him again after that. So I thought that was kind of strange, that for him to act that way.
Well, it sounds like a nice guy, if you ask me. Somebody wanted to buy you coffee? A perfect stranger? Maybe he wanted to make a point. You never know, but it's kind of crazy. You got 2 people or 3 people that called in tonight, and they got not just one UFO sighting or one UFO experience or strange experiences. They got a plethora of them. Quite incredible. All right. More people, more callers. We got a few more minutes. We're taking calls, Third Phase of the Moon. Thanks for calling in from New Jersey. Blake Cousins. We'll be right back.
We have an unidentified object. Object confirmed.
unidentified flying objects being captured every day on video. We love sharing them. So if you've captured anything incredible, like a UFO, submit it to us right here at Third Phase Moon. My email address is in every single description on every upload we put up on Third Phase Moon. I think it's almost up to 1,600 uploads. 1,600. And we reached over 420,000 subscribers. Thanks, everybody, for subscribing as well. It's our pleasure sharing information as it comes in to you, the world. Okay, let's go to area code 352. I know you've been trying to get in, and you made it to the show. How you doing tonight? Hello?
I'm doing. Hey, are you there, Blake?
Yeah, I got you. Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I've been I've been wanting to call in for quite a while, but, I work on Friday nights, and I usually can't do it, but I got off early tonight, so I wanted to call in and tell my stories.
Wow. Appreciate it. So you got a few yourself. Well, let's get started, man. Appreciate you calling in, making some time. Go ahead.
Well, Blake, I'm the guy that I call myself Jimmy Nebadon, and I called in back in October of 2014, and I did a scathing critique on Dr. Greer, and I don't think anyone has surpassed that as far as a scathing critique on Dr. Greer. But
yeah, I kind of recall
yeah, it had 52,000 views so far, 52,802 views. So it was fun doing that. But I've had 3 experiences that I don't want to get too long-winded about it and take your whole show up, but I've had 3 experiences that I would like to narrate to you here, and as soon as you're ready, I'll start talking.
Absolutely. Well, no time like the present. Let's get to it.
Okay, well, my first experience, Blake, was back in late 1974, I think, or early 1975, and I was, at that time, I was a jet engine mechanic in the Navy. I was stationed in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I was a test cell technician. And I think it was right about the time I got out of the Navy in early January, about January 8th, actually, of 1975. And as I was leaving out of Virginia Beach and driving back to Indiana, my home state, my hometown, and getting out of the Navy and going home, I was driving down the highway, and I was out on the interstate. And as I was driving down the interstate, I saw some lights above the road. And as I was approaching these lights, and I was thinking, what the heck? I said, how can there be street lights, stoplights out in the middle of an interstate? Where do they put stoplights or street lights out on an interstate? So I was a little confused, but as I got close, I started to see what it was. And it was a UFO. But it was not a disc type UFO. This was these like a diamond shaped, or what they call the Vimana style I've seen in the way the artists have depicted these Vimanas. My dogs are barking. I'm sorry. Let me close my door real quick. These Vimanas, and it had lights all around it, and it was all lit up, and it was just incredibly amazing to look at. And to Blake, this thing was not 50 feet over the road, over the highway. And I drove right under it, going about 30 miles an hour. And it was just the most beautiful spectacle I'd ever seen. And I wasn't sure what I was seeing. And I looked over on the other lane to see if I could see if anybody else was slowing down, if they could see it. And I noticed there was another car or two in the other lane. They were slowing down. I think, yeah, they see it too. I'm not just dreaming. And then as I started driving past it, and I looked in my mirror, and I continued to see it in my mirror until pretty much I got out of sight. And I was just like, all my life I was like always amazed, like, wow, what was that? That was like a UFO of some kind, but it wasn't the disc type UFO. So I think, I don't know what kind of beings or creatures or gods, were manipulating that particular craft. But it was amazing. Now, my next experience, that was into that one. All right, that was it. I went home back to India, and I got out of the Navy, and I put it, and it's like I didn't know anything about aliens or UFOs back then, and I didn't know what to think of it. But so it's just something that always stuck in me as an amazing thing that I only saw once in my life. And the next experience, now this one, it ramps it up a little bit here. Okay, now this was back in 1979. I was home visiting my parents in Indiana from Chicago, and I was sleeping in a bed in my parents' house. And as I was asleep there, somehow in my dream, I could, it's like I had eyes in the back of my head or something. I could see these, an orb coming around the outside of my house. And it was kind of weird, like I was asleep, but somehow I was aware that there was an orb that had come up to the house and had come near. And then the only thing I can remember after that is Blake, is I remember I cracked my eyes open for just like 1 second. And I looked up and I saw three or four aliens, these alien gray types, standing over me. And they were poking on my face. I had a bad skin infection at that time. I had like boils on my face. It was a terrible skin infection. And in my dream, these alien grays were like poking around on my face with these needles or something. And it was like, and I just glanced up, and for just a mere, I just barely could crack my eyes, just barely peek up, and I look, and I saw these grays standing over me, poking around on my face. And then, and that was it. And I woke up in the morning and I thought, well, dang. I said, I hope they were healing me. I hope that heals my skin infection and my skin disease. I was just thinking, oh, it was just a dream. I don't know. But I thought, wow, that was really weird. But that would be cool if my face would heal up. But it didn't. So maybe they were just taking samples of whatever kind of disease or whatever rare disease it was attacking my face. I got it in the Navy. I never had a pimple in my life, and I had a perfectly clear complexion until I got into the Navy. And when I came out, my face was a wreck. And so that was into that. Okay, just I glanced up for half a second. I don't know where I was at, if I was in my bed or if I was, on board the craft or whatever. And that was the end of that. And it's just like, well, dang, it didn't heal my face, so, well, they must have just been taking samples, I thought. Oh, now here's my third and last experience. So if there's any, government people out here nosing around and they want to know if I don't know any more than this, I'm telling everything I know. So, all the men in black and all these people, don't have to worry about, like, coming around and bothering me or asking me for any more information because I'm saying all I know. And this is my last and final story. Now, this happened to me when I lived in California. And this was about 1995, 94. And I lived up in the mountains, the Sierra Mountains in California above Fresno and Visalia, in a very beautiful part of the Sierra Mountains with my wife. And I had 2 kids, and I just had a brand new baby daughter that was sleeping in the bed with me and my wife at that time. She was just a few days old. Okay, so I lived up in the mountains in a community of a spiritual community of people, and at that time I was into music and stuff, and I did a kind of a spiritual rock band thing, and then one night as I was sleeping, as I went to bed, and I went to bed, and then I had a dream that I got up out of bed and I looked out my window. And as I looked out the window, I saw a giant mothership. It was huge. It covered the whole area of the mountain. So I'm thinking at least a mile across. It was a massive mothership. What I've heard, this sounds like, I don't know, the Arcturian motherships. From what I've heard, that's what they look like. I don't know anything about it now. I'll tell you what I know. Okay, as I dreamed that I looked out the window, and I saw a giant mothership. And then the next thing I know is I wake up and I'm on a table in a room, in kind of a round room. It wasn't, the walls were kind of a little circular or whatever, and I was sitting on a table in a very sterile, just like nothing in the room except that table. And as I turned around and looked over my shoulder to see if I could see anything, I saw control panels behind me and alien like writings and what do you call it? Alien symbols on a control panel. And as soon as I looked at that, it was like, wow, that looks like alien stuff or something. And I told myself, I must be on an alien spaceship. I must be on an alien spacecraft. And I thought, whoa. And so I was sitting there and I got scared. And I didn't see no aliens. Okay, I didn't see nothing. It was me alone in a room. I looked around. I saw alien symbols on the panels, and I got scared. And I thought, I got to get out of here. So I got up and I looked and see if there was anywhere to go. And I saw it looked like a hallway. So I ran over to this hallway to try to escape. And first door I came to, I looked in the window, and then when I looked in that window, I saw a gigantic blob, like a brain thing, blob or a brain, just like on the floor in the room in there. And it was like, freaked me out. It was scary. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was, in my dream, I thought that's some kind of a product of a mutant genetic experience or experiment or something. But later on, my theory, it might have been a brain. It might have been a brain, all right, of that mothership. Okay. So after I looked in that window and I saw that giant blob brain thing on the floor, I freaked out. And I turned around and I told myself, and I knew there was some beings or somebody there that was watching me, observing me, and I said, I panicked and I said, I please knock me out, pass me. I want to pass out. I can't take this. And the next thing I know, I pass out. And then I wake up in the morning, and me and my wife are getting up, and I'm putting my clothes on, and I'm telling my wife, I said, I just had a really crazy dream that I was on a UFO. And my wife giggled, and she said, there were 4 aliens in the room last night. My wife, it's like, and I really didn't, I don't know, I was just so stunned at that point. I didn't ask her, what did they look, and here's what she told me. She said, and they had holsters and pistols on. And I never thought they were guns. And when she told me holsters and pistols, I immediately thought medical instruments. I don't think they needed any weapons. I didn't even have a gun. I don't have a gun or anything. So when she told me they had pistols and holsters, I figured that's some kind of medical instruments. Okay, and so that was all I know. Is I woke up and I told my wife that I said, man, I had this crazy dream. I was on an alien spaceship. And she told me there were aliens in the room. And so at that point I thought, well, maybe that was more than just a dream. And then I asked her years later, we got divorced and stuff, and she came back to visit one time, and I had told her in front of my kids, I said, remember that time I told you about that? I had that dream about the aliens and the spaceship, and you said that there were aliens in the room, and she giggled and laughed. She said, yeah, I remember that. She thought it was funny. She was a very resilient person. So it didn't bother her at all. It didn't bother either one of us. Neither one of us were traumatized by it at all. It was just kind of an amazing experience. But that's a bit, Blake, there's no reason for me to keep going on. That's about it. Did you get that, buddy?
I sure did. Wow. I got to say, I like your last story the best, because when you have an experience such as yours, and then your wife confirms the next morning that she saw the 4 aliens, this is quite incredible. And then how you describe the inside of the ship that you were on, this extraterrestrial ship, and you think this brain-looking thing that was embedded into it could have been possibly the engine for the craft, correct?
That's what I'm saying, Blake. Yeah, I mean, it came to be only after I actually started watching, your show and listening to your show and stuff, and I started thinking, I don't think it was a blob. Actually, if I think about it, it was more of a brain. And I was thinking, wow, maybe these spaceships are kind of like living entities. They're living beings, okay? And that was the brain of that living being that was that giant mothership. That's my theory.
Amazing, amazing. Perfectly well said, too. A biological mothership. Could these motherships actually be living organisms? And that's quite incredible. Wow, I appreciate you calling in, man, and sharing your story tonight. It was my pleasure sharing it with the world.
Well, thank you, Blake. I'll keep listening, and if I ever have another one, which I probably won't, but I'll keep listening, and it was nice talking to you, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It's quite incredible. We have multiple callers with multiple experiences tonight. Usually when we have our callers into Third Phase Moon, they have this one experience and they want to share it with us, but all these callers are having all these different experiences throughout their lifetime, and that's got to say something. They all have something in common. All right, we only got a few minutes, but I want to touch base with a couple callers here just to make sure that I'm connecting with them, and maybe we could correspond with them next week. Oh, let's see. We're going to broadcast on Monday night, so let's see. Area code 902. It's getting a little late in the show, but did you have something you want to share with us on Third Phase of Moon?
Yeah, I'm just calling from the East Coast, Canada, and you had a caller from Newfoundland, I think, a week ago or so. He's talking about Sasquatches and stuff. But anyhow, you had a caller a couple earlier, and he was saying how he's trying to project his thoughts into the sky and bring out whatever he thinks is up there, and he's true. People got to believe in that stuff. I myself can do that, and I've been doing this for the last couple of years, and the last nights have been pretty dramatic up here. A lot of stuff going on, and people just have to look upwards, not downwards, to see what's going on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, get some video proof of that stuff, and we'd sure love to see it, that's for sure. We've got a few minutes left. Let's go to area code 651. Did you have something you wanted to share to the world? Hello? Well,
yeah,
how you doing? Yep. Hey, how's it going?
This is Steve. I have a YouTube channel, Slightly Slanted Sleuth for the Truth.
Okay. You got some UFO videos on there?
Yeah, I've sent you a few videos here and there, but I had an epiphany recently while watching one of my videos and seeing said UFOs in the sky. Here it is. And, Skyview, My View, Planets View, that, I do Nibiru videos pretty much. Recently, there's been oodles and oodles of alien craft in the sky, and I've gotten several that were like energy orbs recently that shift and like the light shuts off of them and then they start vibrating, and turn into a black diamond shifting type cloaking device, I believe. But anyway, my point is this. The Earth is surrounded by an ionosphere. We're said to be spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. We're said to be orbiting the sun at 66,000 miles an hour. All in the same time, we're being drugged by the sun through the cosmos at another breakneck speed. I don't know rightly recall what that exact number is, but the ionosphere keeps us in our seats pretty much. Now on these craft like the TR-3B, that you see that bubble go around the center of the craft and it lights up. That's a recreation of what our Earth has, the ion bubble. And that's what, I don't know if you're familiar with Mark McCandlish. He was a conceptual artist for Boeing and Lockheed or whatnot. And I looked into his work, and he pretty much states the same thing. That's how they're able to defeat the laws of gravity, the G, so to speak. But,
sure. Well, I could understand that. I could understand that these aliens are mimicking what they see throughout the galaxy and the universe and the infinite beyond. They study the planets, our stars, and figure out physics in a way. And yeah, I think our Earth is a spacecraft itself. It's amazing. So why not aliens harness Mother Nature throughout the universe and engineer it so they could traverse amongst the stars. Blake Cousins, thanks for joining me tonight. It's been my pleasure to broadcast it. We'll see everybody again next week, Friday.
Days.
I mean, but. Third.